Booktube. Welcome back to my channel, Guilty Feet. I've got everything. I'm going to do my Friday reads, and I'm going to try and whiz through it because they're sort of whizzy through books to talk about. So first up, when we last spoke, I was reading Lincoln Highway by Amor Towles, and I've just recorded a whole standalone review of this because I felt it kind of deserved it, but I may not put that up until after this. So whatever, that will happen, but so I'm not going to talk about it much now. Yeah, I enjoyed it. I don't think it's as good as A Gentleman in Moscow, which is the previous Towles book that I read, but there's plenty here for people who like big 550-page literary fiction novels to sink their teeth into. I don't think it's the most sophisticated work of literature you will ever come across, but it's a open quotes, bloody good read, close quotes. Lincoln Highway by Amor Towles. After that, I did what I often do after I've gone through some 550-page novel. I turn to a graphic novel, of which I buy indiscriminately, and try to catch up with the last 30 years of reading that I haven't really done. I used to be a comic collector when I was a teen and a student. I spent more money than was sensible in the comic book shop, getting new releases every week. And now I don't, but I still love reading graphic novels and comic books when I can, and I try and pick them up cheap. And this is something I picked up relatively cheaply. This is Captain America: Winter Soldier, and this is the Ultimate Collection by Ed Brubaker, is the writer. So how do I get to this? Yeah, I'm interested in the story of the Winter Soldier, which we know I kind of knew about. And then we have the Marvel Cinematic Universe version of Captain America and Bucky. So that's one way in. And then also I'm buying based on the writer. So I'm reading Ed Brubaker. I've read a lot of his standalone sort of crime graphic or comic book stuff, and I know he had this fantastic run on Captain America, which included, in fact, starts with I think this is the start of his run on Captain America. This was a new Captain America comic book that started from a #1, even though Captain America originally started in the 40s and then punching Nazis, and Jack Kirby in those sort of weird body shapes with arms all the way at the front and legs all the way at the back, sort of weird Jack Kirby what made the old computer mouse anatomy lessons, and then we know that Captain America disappears and then is relaunched as a member of the Avengers sort of in the 60s. So in the comic book universe, he's frozen in ice for all this time and revived later on and joins the Avengers, and that's the same in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. That ran for however many 400 issues or something, and then there's all sorts of things that happen in Marvel, and there restarts, and they think they'll sell more if they have a new #1, and then that doesn't work, and then they reboot. And this was the latest reincarnations. This was a #1 issue, and this collection has issues 1 to 9 and 11 to 14. So issue 10 isn't in here because that was a crossover of some kind. I don't remember which one. House of M, maybe. Anyway, so there's good. So that's 9, 10, 11, 9, and 4. It's 13 issues. That's a chunky. That's a double graphic novel. Usually you get like 5 or 6 issues in a single one of these trades. So this is a double one. That's why it's called the Ultimate Collection. And it tells the story of the Winter Soldier. Now, in order to understand the Winter Soldier, you need to know the basics. Now that everyone knows, the secret has been revealed. Everyone knows, but there was a time in the 70s, 80s, and 90s where there was one rule in comics, and one rule only, and that rule was nobody stays dead except James Bucky Buchanan. Right? I'm telling you, this is before internet, before anything. We knew this rule. Anyone who ever dies in comic, they don't stay dead. There's some reason, something happens. It wasn't really. They get revived by something else. Nobody stays dead except for Captain America's sidekick, Bucky. Bucky is killed in that very first incarnation of Captain America when he's back fighting the Nazis, and right up until 70s, 80s, 90s, Bucky stayed dead when nobody else stayed dead. And this was the story that broke that rule, because this is the story that brought back a character who I first meet as the Winter Soldier, but is very quickly revealed. And I'm sorry if this is a spoiler for anyone, but because of the movies, we now know that the Winter Soldier is Bucky. the Winter Soldier is a code name for a secret Russian operative, an assassin who disappears for many years at a time and comes back and carries out some impossible kill and disrupting the West. And the Russians have this, they don't understand how, is it the same person? Because there's 10 years, hasn't been seen for 10 years. Anyway, all that is revealed, how it's Bucky, how he's still alive, how he's been reprogrammed by the Russians, how he's got a bionic arm, all that's in here. So if you know the movies, you kind of know that story. Going back and reading it in Brubaker's, and all those movies were based on Brubaker's storyline. Going back and reading it here, it's really good. I like this a lot, and I'm predisposed to like Brubaker. I never had any interest. I grew up as a sort of DC fan. We grew up with Batman more than Superman. And then when I started collecting comics, I came in through the X-Men. So I was a Marvel collector, but mainly around the Mutant Universe. Never had much time for the Avengers and the big what the big ones. Hulk seemed very dull to me. Iron Man was never a cool character. Thor, wasn't interested at all in that mythology, and Captain America just seemed to me sort of poor man's Batman. Not as cool, not as iconic. The blue, white, and the stars and the stripes, nowhere near as deep and broody as the Batman iconography. So I was never really, and wasn't a character that I ever was interested in. And this just tells a good story. This is, here we meet Steve Rogers, Captain America. He's a man out of time. This is a man who's from the 1940s and he's living in modern times and not sure he likes it. So he's lonely. He's constantly brooding about his place in the world. The other Avengers and S.H.I.E.L.D., Nick Fury, are concerned about him because he's clearly not happy. And when this arises that this person out there that S.H.I.E.L.D. has to take down might be Bucky, that just messes with him in ways, his one connection to the world that he remembers, the world where he felt most at home. That one connection has been poisoned and turned bad, and that Bucky could be responsible for these terrible crimes. It eats at him, and all that is on the page. I mean, there's some flashbacks to fighting alongside Bucky in WWII, but there's just good stuff here. There's good stuff with Sharon Carter, who's an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., Agent 13. Sam Wilson, the Falcon, is in here. And this is later on we know that he's going to take over as Captain America. But it just makes a great case for why Captain America is an iconic figure. It's, when I saw Captain America always as a sort of more colourful, less a cool version of Batman, actually the case is made here that Captain America is kind of more of a Superman character. So he's kind of the alien, alone in this case, stranded by time rather than from a different planet. And he's sort of too perfect and too good. He's a Boy Scout who sees the corruption around him, or not even corruption, just people, spies aren't don't deal honestly, and yet he is a man of integrity who wants things to be easy and straightforward. I just think it's a great version of this character who I never really took to before. I like him in the movies. I think Chris Evans' portrayal of him is solid and good. But I think a lot of that comes straight from here. I think Brubaker put it on the page. I don't know enough about Captain America before this era, except what I thought I knew, to know whether other writers also contributed to that sense. But I think it's a lot of it has to do with Brubaker's creation. I think it's a very modern understanding of why a super soldier, frozen in time for however many years and thawed out and made to be part of the modern world and the Cold War, as opposed to the war he actually fought in, and post-Cold War and modern spycraft, why Captain America is an anachronism and therefore interesting. So I like this. I think it's great. I think the action set pieces are great. I think the peripheral side characters are great, and I think Brubaker's portrayal of Cap and his anguish is really entertaining. So I like that. That's Captain America, The Winter Soldier. As I said, this is one of 14. They're harder to find, the follow-up collections to this, but I might try and pick them up because I really dig Brubaker's writing. I think it's a great take on the character. After that, I'm working through my TBR. So this is some trash that I picked up 3 years ago. I bought this at the Mysterious Bookshop in New York, which is where Otto Penzler, where the Mysterious Press, if you ever have any books published by Mysterious Press, I've got a few dotted around here. That's where that used to be. Otto Penzler, I believe, still the proprietor and works there. I missed him by about an hour when I was there. I was asking the assistant, I'd like just... Well, he wouldn't know who I am, but he is a famous character in publishing. I don't know how many of them there are, but I just missed him. But I went, they had I try not to buy books new at full price, but they had a sort of sale shelf, and I picked this up. This is the third in the Tanner series by Lawrence Block. So I've read a whole bunch of Lawrence Block series. He has the Bernie Roddenberry Burglar series, of which a new one has just been published this year that Steve Donoghue put on his best thrillers of 2022. So I'm looking forward to get to that, where each book is about a burglar. The latest one is called The Burglar Who Met Frederick Brown. And there's the burglar in the Rye, the burglar in the library, the burglar who traded, I don't know, the burglar is something Spinoza. Anyway, there's those ones. There's the Matthew Scudder series, where he's a former alcoholic private eye in New York, and there's a whole bunch of those. They've been made into movies a couple of times. Most recently with Liam Neeson, wasn't very successful. Walk Among the Gravestones, Walk Among the Tombstones. Anyway, I've read a whole bunch of those. There is also a smaller series with about a hitman called Keller, often a bunch of short stories where Keller is given a target and has to find interesting and unusual ways to get the job done, i.e. kill the target and get away and get out of town before anyone notices damage has been done. What else have we got of Block? And then there's this, there are others. There's all sorts of different things. He's just a very prolific writer, has been writing for 50, 60 years. This is called Tanner's 12 Swingers, originally from 1960-something, late 60s, I'm guessing, 1967. And this is a signet reprint from October 99. So a neat little thing, nice big writing. This is sort of post-Bond, or in the Bond heyday, rubbish, trashy spy fiction that I read in an afternoon. It's absolutely absurd. The shtick with Tanner, and this is the third one of his that I've read. So I think there's about 5 or 6 published in between sort of 66 and 71, and then disappears for a number of years, a bit like Captain America, because I think after about 15, 16, 17 years in the late 80s or early 90s, he published a new Tanner. So I'm now going back 20 years. There'd been a break of 15 years, and then there was Tanner on Ice, and I think Tanner had been frozen a la Captain America, a la Austin Powers, and is then a man out of time later on. Listen, this is not essential in any shape or form. I've read 3 Tanners now. The shtick with Tanner is that he doesn't sleep. He has some bit of shrapnel in his brain from before his first adventure, and the first one was called The Thief That Didn't Sleep, I believe. Then he was The Thief Who Couldn't Sleep, and then the second one was called The Cancelled Czech, but Czech is CZECH, someone from the Czech Republic, and this is Tanner's 12 Swingers, which is another pun like the cancelled Czech, because these swingers are Eastern European acrobats that wish to flee and come to the States, and it's just absolute tripe. So Tanner never sleeps. He is fluent in every single possible language there is in the world, because he has so much time not sleeping to learn languages. So a lot of this takes place in the Balkans, in countries that don't exist anymore. So the former Yugoslavia, and he's Macedonia, and he's sort of fomenting revolution everywhere he goes, and that's what he does, and fathers a child who may grow up to lead the next revolution, and is charged with rescuing a Lithuanian princess who's 6 years old, and keeping her. Just a lot of silly nonsense going on, and somehow he manages to get away with it all and save the day, and steal a secret Russian stealth bomber. Just nonsense. Fabulously readable, just light-hearted. I mean, I think people get killed who get in the way, but it's all very perfunctory, and it's all about getting the girl and saving the world and just getting away with it and being told, everyone thanking you because you've saved the day again. Silly, fun. I kind of had to be in the mood to read it because I know I'm going to read it in one go. I don't have any more of these lined up, but I would like to read them just to get to the break and then the comeback after 15, 16 years, even though that's already now a couple of decades old. So I don't know which ones, I don't know what comes next after this, and I won't necessarily look. I'm not looking to buy any more books at the moment, but when time comes again and I start deciding what I want to purchase and look on eBay, these might be the kind of things that if I could get them for £1 or £2 or £3, that I would say, yep, I'll always read another Lawrence Block. But I would like to read the new Burglar. So that's like the other end. That's a new book. So that's like £15-16 right now. But when that comes down a little bit, I will definitely pick up Bernie Roddenberry, because I think those are better written, better constructed, and it's a big one. Like the last couple of Burglar books have been like 200 pages, and the new one's like 350 pages, and he writes like a dream. They're super fun to read, so I'm looking forward to sticking my teeth into a 350-page Bernie Roddenberry cozy murder mystery. This was trash but fun. And then after that, I started this other bit of, that was from 1967. This is a little bit older. This is Aristophanes' 3 plays. I bought this for Lysistrata, and that is the third of the 3 plays. I haven't got to that. I've read one of them, which was the Acharnians. This is I know my knowledge of classic. Oh, I think I stopped it by mistake. Sorry. My knowledge of classical literature is non-existent. My knowledge of the Greeks and the Romans is terrible. So the intro here was doing a lot of heavy lifting for me. All these 3 plays were presented and translated by the person writing the intro, who is Alan H. Summerstein. So there may be better translations of these. I felt this was quite modern. So this I think is from the 70s. 1 second, I should have really... Yeah, copyright Alan Summerstein, 1973. So I think this is a translation from the 70s, and it reads very modern to me. I don't think I would have understood... I said, when I read the first, the play's got 2 more to do. I don't think I would have understood what I read at all if I hadn't read the intro. So it's pointing out to me the in-jokes, the breaking of the fourth wall, I think Euripides is a character in that first play, and what that means and why that's funny, and a satire. And what I like about it, I don't think I knew going in, although I kind of understood Lysistrata, because I understood that it was about women withholding sex from the men to stop them going to war, and that was the basis for the Spike Lee film, which I never saw, Shy something. See, about something about Chicago or Shy. I can't remember what that. I didn't see the movie, but I understood that was based on Lysistrata, and I wanted to read Lysistrata, so I bought this. So I haven't got to that yet, but this is also, so the Acharnians is also about a satire on the uselessness of war, and in a time when a lot of Greeks were spending a lot of time at war. So I think I've got the Clouds next, and then Lysistrata. I'll let you know how it goes. But I've got this old. These are my favourite version of the Penguin classics. And purple for the classics, as opposed to red for the fiction, and yellow for books in translation. And what other colours they have? Green. What's green? I don't remember. Anyway, that's all for now. God bless. Bye.